Welcome to the Gym Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Ramage. Today, I am chatting with my friend, Oskar Johed. Oskar is co-owner of CrossFit Medis. He opened 6.5 years ago. He also has another gym, CrossFit Sikla, which I always pronounce incorrectly. We'll talk more about that. He is a two-brain mentor, as well as a CrossFit seminar staff member. So he's been doing courses for CrossFit for some time. We'll probably talk on that. And before that, this dude was a corporate banker for 15 years. And we're definitely going to have to jump into that because I just can't see it. Welcome to the show, Oskar. It's awesome to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Why can't you see me as a banker?
While you're wearing, okay, we're going to start with this. I wasn't going to start with this. While you're wearing your rainbow unicorn shirt, and the beauty of this is I first met Oskar almost 3 years ago, I think, 2.5 almost 3 years ago in Sweden, of all things. And Oskar comes running up, super smiley, and he's wearing the most epic shirt, and it's the shirt you're wearing. What is that, kismet? What is that, like just random? That is crazy. Yeah, it says CrossFit Medis. It's got the unicorns in rainbow color. It's incredible. It caught my eye the first day. I'm like, that is an incredible shirt. So I don't think you remember that conversation. You didn't choose that shirt today, did you? For that reason.
No, it was literally on top. So that's how I dress myself in the morning. I'll just pick whatever clothes is on top. And I literally dress color-wise like the rainbow, depending on what order my shirts, pants, underwear, and socks are on. So this is purely coincidental. I like it.
That's that just means that this was meant to be today. So I'm very excited about that. So we started on the right foot. So a lot is going to happen in this podcast, folks. Hang on to your britches because we are going to have some amazing stuff to talk about. So Oskar, you have quite the list of things you've done here. I've been to your flagship gym, your first gym, CrossFit Medis, and it's incredible. It's in a bunker. I had a really great time there. You run an excellent show, my man.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, yeah, the reason why it's working well is because we got awesome staff taking care of it. So me and Carl, who I opened it with, we're awesome at sticking stuff in machinery and breaking stuff. So we have staff making sure that we keep our fingers out of the cookie jar. So it's running well. We had a good vision. I think we got a good mission. We got solid values. When it comes to like running the details of a gym, we have unfortunately come to the point where we can hire people that are way better than we are.
That is a recurring. I can't tell you enough how much that recurs when I'm talking to gym owners that I see as successful, really successful. They're like, oh, we have the best staff. That's what it's all about. It's all about your staff. And I remember when we visited you, even though you guys were there guiding us and talking to us, like a staff member would come across and it was like a big deal. We would talk with them, we'd learn about them. And it was obvious that that's a part of the culture that you've created, which I think is incredible. And your partner, co-owner with Carl is a great dude as well. So you guys been together in business for 6.5 years.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So Carl and I we grew up, like we had summer houses, like vacation houses in the same area growing up. Like we're not from the same part of Stockholm, but we're from Stockholm. So we had like a summer house. So we ran around the same area while growing up, like in the summers. And then we, just grew apart like for probably 20 years, I guess, or something. And then we bumped into each other in 2014 or 13 maybe, and then magic happened, as they say.
Boom. Yes, magic happened. You guys are both really incredible humans. I love spending time with you. It's always been really fun. So let's step back. Oh yeah, we'll get to that later. 15 years as a banker, suit, tie, smiling, or maybe not smiling.
No. once a year when we get bonuses, we smiled, but that was essentially it. It was yeah, it was interesting. So I have a background in finance and computer science. Got master's degrees in those. Then I went into corporate business from um, essentially, well, I started when going to university, and then I spent 15 years uh, helping, for the majority of the part, I was helping multinational corporations with managing their liquidity. And then I spent a few years working on foreign exchange, so helping them deal with their currency exposures from
Wow.
multinational trade.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So you were helping the rich get richer, right?
Yes.
And I'm not going to go down that road, but like, talk about 180-degree turn from owning a CrossFit gym, becoming a CrossFit seminar staff, becoming a two-brain mentor. I mean, you're talking about a completely different turn. I want to get there. First of all, how did you get into CrossFit as a banker? Let's go there.
Yeah, right. So my background was ice hockey. I was a pretty decent ice hockey player growing up. Or like I played high junior level back here in Sweden until I was 20 plus,
Oh, wow.
21, 22. So I played. I've had the great fortune of playing with some really good Swedish players and international as well. So that was my background, and I quit when I was like 22 maybe, and we had a lot of Russian coaches, so we did a lot of gymnastics and weightlifting, mixed modal stuff. We did, obviously it wasn't called CrossFit back then, but that was the type of stuff I was used to doing like off season. And then in 2007 or 08, I was called in to like play a soccer game. I played soccer going up as well because I had buddies in like lower leagues, like, hey, we need someone to fill in. I'm like, yep, I'll do it. Jumped in like 4 minutes in the game, I tore my ACL.
Oh.
The day before our vacation started. So my then girlfriend, now wife, was super stoked. Yeah. So I ran into an old buddy on the street, and he was working as a personal trainer. And he was like, "Well, this is just, he was an MMA guy, and he was like, well, I'm working out at this MMA gym, and we're doing CrossFit there, and CrossFit is going to be great for your rehab for the after the surgery." So I'm like, cool. And he told me what they were doing. I'm like, yeah, that's what we did when we were growing up, essentially in the summers. So I thought that that was in 08, I think, maybe on 08 or 09. So I thought that they had a concept called CrossFit. I didn't know that there was a brand back then. So, and I fell in love right away. I got smashed. I thought I was going to crush everyone. It was funny. The first workout I ever did was 8 rounds for time. It was 400-meter run and 50 air squats. And I'm like, dude, I can squat 455 pounds for like reps in like flip flops. And I'm a decent runner for like 400s. So I 3, 2, 1, go. I took it to my 400 or maybe like my 410-meter pace at the first 400. Came in, did 49 fast, lightning fast air squats, and then couldn't get out of the bottom on the 50th. And then I'm like, what's going on here? I'm like, I'm stunned. And then like everyone was passing me. I remember them like, hey, that dude is old and she's a girl and he is like weak. And I'm like, they're crushing me. I'm like, what's going on here? And I finished the workout, was destroyed, couldn't go to work the day after because my legs were destroyed. And I'm like, yes, I like this stuff. Right. So that was 08 or 09. So I fell in love with CrossFit because that was the type of stuff I had been kind of doing before.
Right.
And then, so doing CrossFit. And then in 2012, we went down to Zambia to adopt our daughter. She was 3 months old then, and and the rules were we had to stay there for 3 months, and then, done deal, get a stamp in the passport and fly home because she was an orphan. So there was no way that anyone could like claim her. But the law said we have to be there for 3 months to like go through paperwork. Cool. And before going there, they told us that you're probably gonna have sketchy internet at best and TV. So bring a lot of books to read. And I had then fell in love with CrossFit. So I downloaded everything from the CrossFit journal. Like,
Oh, wow.
and I had to, my life, I don't understand how my wife can still be with me, but I had to get up in the middle of the night to like download stuff because the internet connection cut off back then. So I had to, because I was downloading everything, all the videos and articles and everything. So I filled a entire, um, external hard drive with everything from like '02 to like 2011 or 2012, actually,
Wow.
everything. So because I wanted to have something to do, right? Because and then yeah, it was going to be like 3 months, and then it eventually turned into 11 months.
Oh, so you were in Zambia for almost a year.
Yes. And we didn't really know if we were ever going to get home. So we were going to be there for 3 months, and then just for 3 months it was like vacation. Like we went on safaris. It was great, new culture, people super friendly. Like Zambia is one of the poorest countries in the world. Like 25% ish were HIV positive, and like 60 or 70% were living below poverty line, and like 50% were below the poverty, extreme poverty line or something. Super poor country. But they've never had any civil wars or anything. So super friendly people. So we enjoyed that 3 months. It was amazing, right? Going to court, and then so my wife had read it, like the law paragraph just essentially said like, yeah, you have to be for 3 months, but if a Zambian wanted to adopt a foreign kid, that kid has to be in the country for 12 months. But it's like in the reverse order, right? So it had to be the other way around. So we get to court. We're not defending ourselves, or we're not there for ourselves, because it's like the social services against state of Zambia. Like there's no one else to argue with. But essentially, the magistrate's like, well, yeah, you seem to be awesome parents. We've seen, you've done everything that's expected of us. However, the law requires you to be after 12 months to come back in 9. Done deal. And we're like, what? And we couldn't talk because we were not allowed, because we were not technically there. It was social services.
Right.
And they had such a high respect for authorities, so they didn't like argue with them. They're like, oh, okay, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're like, no, it works. It's just like it's a oops. No, hey, see it as 2 or 3 more weeks of vacation, then you're gonna be out. And that essentially just got worse and worse. Like we had like an organization that was gonna help us, that we paid quite a decent amount to, and they all of a sudden like, well, yeah, we're not technically there to help you. We're just there to like facilitate, so we can't really step in the law here. We're like, well, we don't know anyone here. We just left essentially on our own here. So yeah, that started just a trickle down story of everything just happening. Like they were like for like forever, they're like, well, they're just gonna bring it up to court, they're just gonna revoke it, and then
Right.
send you back home for like 3 months. We try to find people, and all of a sudden like, no, oh, your paper's still at magistrate court, nothing has happened. We're like, well, you've been telling us every week that they're like, we're getting closer and closer to like a new date. Oh, sorry, we oops. And then we had to like bring it up to the high court to, yeah. So and then it was just a chaotic situation, and in the meantime we tried to figure out how to get home, right? So we started like trying to figure out different ways of making sense of this, and we were asked to like change child, because that might get us back quicker.
Oh.
We're like, well, it's not like a VCR. Like I'm not a Sony guy. I'm more a Panasonic, right? And we're like, well, we kind of are somewhat attached to this person now after like 6 months,
It's a human.
right?
And
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So thanks for the offer, but no. And then at some point we looked for like medical records, and then we found that she was probably HIV positive, which she shouldn't be, because they're not technically allowed to adopt kids that are HIV positive, or adopt away, or whatever you want to call it. And we're like, okay, well, once again, we're not going to trade her, but we have to like figure stuff out. Like, okay, we can give her medication now that she doesn't develop it, but that needs to happen now. So we need clarity. And people are like, yeah, come back on Wednesday. And then that turned into like the Friday after that. So it was just chaotic. Thankfully, like it was nothing there. Like it was just a mix up of records. But that was essentially what happened to us, like on a day-to-day basis. We pushed forward our flights home like 9 times. because like, yeah, like 3 weeks from now you'll be home. Packed our bags, and then like unpack the bags again. I'm getting goosebumps here because that was not a fun thing. It's like multiple times to like unpack like pack everything, and like, yep, it's tomorrow, and then like, no. And there were so many other like minor instances here. I'm gonna get to the whole CrossFit thing. That gives a bit of backstory. And then like my parents came down twice. No, the first time was my brother, my mom, and dad. I got two brothers, and they were like, that was like after like 6 or 7 months, we were still like, this is BS, but you know, whatever. It was great. And then in the spring, when we saw like, dude, it's like in February. We came there in like July, or actually late June, I think. So yeah, they came back like right before Christmas. They came down, and then they came down again in like March. And then because we planned to like fly home together, because they're like, no, you're going to be home then by, we guarantee it. So I had to once again
Gosh.
drive my parents to the airport and just say goodbye. And that was, whew, it was it's bringing back memories now. That was hard. It was really hard. And the whole hopelessness of like we want to yell and punch people, or like I'm not a good puncher, and I don't see how that would help, but like we couldn't create a fuss. We had to be like friendly to people when they were like, and like they had no malicious intent. Like no one were like technically asking for bribes. They were just like, well, I'm really comfortable not really doing anything, so go talk to Steven. And then so it's what I did essentially every day. And my wife is way smarter than I am, so she read up all, the international law and everything, right? But it's the, traditional, in air quotes, patriarchic society. So I'm a man who carries more weight than my wife. So I was the one that had to like go talk to people.
Yep.
I set up in the morning with my backpack with all the papers, and just standing in line with like, and being shuffled around like, hey, you have to go up to this government building, and then walk in the streets in like 107 degrees, heat, and like try to be friendly, and like standing in line for like 8 hours, and then coming home to my wife like, yep, nothing again. I'll just do it again tomorrow. So that was essentially, yes. So that was what I did the majority of the time, and so at night my wife went to bed fairly early, and Emma, the daughter, as well, and in order to muster some kind of like energy to get back in rejections again and again and again, I stayed up, all night essentially, and watching old CrossFit videos and reading articles. So I was reading that over and over and over again to get my mind off like this stuff, right? So and so I watched them once. I still have the hard drive somewhere, and I had I moved them in folders, like watched them everything once, twice, 3 times, and I'd read this one again. So I just watch it over and over to like get my mind off the thing we're in. Because at one point also, because we were her legal guardians, and when she's 19, she can decide what she wants to do.
Yeah.
She's free to leave when she's 19 from Zambia, as long as she. So we thought for a few months that we were actually have to stay there for 19 or 18 years, if we wanted to keep her. So we're like, well, yes. And we couldn't both leave the country at the same time. So we essentially had to be there and like find jobs in Zambia for 18 and a half years to be able to, then she would be an adult where she can like go to Sweden, apply for citizenship, and like live happily ever after. So we're like trying to figure out like what can we do in Zambia that the pay. And here's another interesting thing there. Like we lived in essentially not a shed, but like it was the house. But because there are very few foreigners there, and the only foreigners are working for UN. So like we lived in a place where we had water from time to time, and the dust was just blowing in. It was a 2 room, so it was a house. We paid $1,300 a month.
Oh.
Yes, so we had electricity from time to time. We got water from time to time, and like there was it was interesting as well. So all of this combined made me watch CrossFit stuff over and over and over again, right? And Zambia is such a poor country, And I just saw that, well, if we ever get home from this place, I can't just go back to being a banker. I loved what I was doing, and I thought I was actually quite good at it. And I knew I helped people, but I'm like, I can help the world become a better place, because I'm really not making it better, right? So I need to make the world a better place. I just realized that, because they were so poor, these people, but they were so friendly to us. Like, we hardly ever met any, like, they were curious, like, why are white people carrying a black child? And sometimes, like, why are the white dude carrying a child? They're like, wow.
Yeah.
And that was exciting in the beginning, but like after 9 months being pointed at all the time, I know they were friendly and super, like, they thanked us, but it was kind of hard to be watched and pointed at all the time. Oh, and one time we were walking down the road, and then I had a shitty day because people are just like pointing at me and just talking, like, and calling me, "Hey, white dad." I'm like, God, stop it.
Yeah.
Not the right day. And we met an old man and like on the street, because there were no street lights. It was essentially like you were walking right by the road, and they were driving, drunk drivers, all the time. Wrong side of the street as well, so it's fairly confusing. So we're walking and we meet an old man. I'm like, and you can see that it's like almost walking to where he would stop us. I'm like, I can't deal with another person now. So I was just about to like pass them, like take my wife and him and like take him walk around. And my wife's like, "Don't stop." I'm like, okay, okay. And the man handed out a flower, like, "Thank you for what you're doing." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And then we try to talk with him. They speak fairly good English, but like we
Right.
stayed there for like maybe 10 seconds. I'm like, "Thank you very much." I'm like, okay. Literally, we keep walking 10 more meters after that. A car flips across the street, and we would have been standing where the car just flipped over the street. So if we had not been stopped by that man, this podcast would not been with me. That car was coming down like 60 miles an hour and just flipped. And I'm like, okay, thank you, old man, for giving me a flower.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's okay. So then I just fucking I'm sorry. I'm like, but I just become fairly emotional again. I'm like, I can't go back to live that life. I need to make the world a better place. So I'm like, well, I'm not I can't figure out a vaccine to stuff. It would come in handy right now, but I'm not a writer that can encourage people to like change the world. Like the only thing
Right.
I could really do is probably fitness. I understand training fairly well, and that's probably still in the realm of making the world a better place. So I'll go there, and then I'm gonna open a CrossFit gym. So essentially, eventually when we came home, I quit the bank, and I ran into Carl, another CrossFit gym that he was also a corporate dude, and he had switched career because he's like, I don't want to spend any more hours at a corporate setting. And then we said, let's start a gym. So that's essentially how I came to become that. And that's a very truncated. There's actually quite a few stories when I just talk about it. They're like, oh, I thought about that thing. That was also life or a death situation. Oh, I'll have to bring up another one. So you've probably seen the Niagara Falls. It's
Yep.
super famous. Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we were there, and there's a lot of baboons walking around there because people feed them, and you know right, and they tell them like, hey, don't feed the animals because they're gonna come close, and like you can't bring food in because they smell the stuff. So my wife was carrying like a shoulder bag with Emma's baby formula,
Oh.
and we're walking there, and it was like in a container, it was like everything, right? So we're walking there, and my wife was walking, and she had a camera on one side, and then the bag on the other side, and a baboon attacked her and started pulling on the bag and dragged her across the cliff. So, and then all of a sudden, a man, like another tourist, just jumped out. We have it on cameras actually, and then he just chased it down, like started beating it, and it just jumped off. But it was essentially like,
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't know, 20. Let me see that. Let's say it was like about 7, or that's 10 meters. So that's 30 feet or
Yeah.
something from the actual cliff,
Oh.
which is like a drop of like forever. So unless you are really good at developing wings on the way down, you're pretty dead, right?
Right.
So that was another quite interesting thing that happened. I just thought of now. Yeah. So then, yeah, I decided to open a gym, right? And
Oh,
that's how
just
I.
11 months in Zambia, near death experiences, falling in head over heels in love with a baby and being told, hey, let's switch. You'll get out of here faster. Wait, that's not how it works. So you guys pretty much had the ultimate sacrifice. I mean, you were risking your lives because of where you were at, just the nature of living there. Risking your careers, risking your income, risking pretty much everything for the love of a child. And you finally make it back, and you're not gonna do corporate world anymore.
No. So I'm not like, and I was super excited. And then I started, at the gym. We got up to 150 people. I was super excited at what we're doing. Members loved it, and that's a pretty interesting story as well, because you've been to the gym. But we now have at the first gym, because Medis, we got 2 rooms, but the first gym only has like a 9-foot ceiling.
Right.
And we didn't know that when we started that. 2 stories above us is the Red Cross Center for tortured refugees. So they're not super excited about dropping barbells.
Yeah, no.
No. So yeah, that was quite interesting when we opened. So, but like we opened the gym. We were super excited. We're doing well, and like we were making something that in our mission vision from the start. It's been to fundamentally improve the health and the quality of life of our members and their families. That's been our core like vision from the start. And now mission is going to be to enable success and measurable results. So that's been like the core thing from the start. And I was great, but I'm like, if I made a promise that if I'm going to make the world a better place, like 150 people of 9 billion is not necessarily going to be enough. It's just not. I can't look myself in the mirror and say I'm doing what I can to change the world. So I'm like, okay, how can I do this better? And we had joined Two Brain as a gym, right?
Right.
And I'm like, well, maybe if I can indirectly help other people get fitness. So if I can help gym owners as a mentor become better, then I can at least theoretically take that as me making the world a better place.
Right.
So if I can help a gym owner have a thriving business where he has 150 people that he makes fitter, and I can technically take them as part of my job of making the world a better place. And I essentially did the same thing with seminar stuff. I'm like, well, maybe I can inspire trainers or fitness dudes or dudettes to essentially go open up a gym, make it better place for 150 people. So essentially it's like a positive pyramid scheme where I'm like, it can have cascading effects.
Right.
So then I said, obviously I like mentoring people or helping other people, but it's more like in order to tell his daughter that I'm doing something, right? I just felt I had to. So I interned on seminar stuff and trying to be a mentor at the same time.
Woo.
And yeah, it was quite interesting, but I'm like, that's the way it happened. And I just said that if I'm not good enough as a mentor, that's great, because that means that there are really good mentors. Because I put my heart into it. And the same for seminar staff. I'm like, if I can't make it, that's awesome, because that means that there are people that are better than I am. And that's the reason why I still work relatively hard on becoming better, because I kind of wish that someone is going to tell me like, hey, you're not a good enough mentor anymore, and you're not good enough to be on staff. It would suck because I enjoy it, but I know that they would be someone else better than I am at making the world a better place, and then I can go on and probably fix a vaccine or something. So, or write a book, or like Dostoevsky or something. So, I that's essentially a unfortunately truncated story of how I got to this place, and that's the reason why I don't like to talk about passion, because passion is slightly a bit too emotional for me. I want it to be, so I like to talk about purpose. Essentially it's the same thing but for me I want to separate it, but like I need to, of course I'm an emotional guy, as you can hear right now, and it carries some emotional weight to it. But purpose to me, I think I'm driven by actually making the world a better place. And can I make it better? Of course, there are probably other ways than actually being a fitness dude and just mentoring gyms. But I'm like, I at least I'm trying to live the type of life that are not only inspire people, but make people aspire to be not like me, but find their own like purpose and like make it better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love your purpose. Like, and I've heard you talk about your purpose before. In fact, it was the last time I was in Sweden. You and Carl talked a lot about it, and it was impressive, because I think a lot of people will come up with a vision that is maybe sometimes a little shallow. It's surrounding them and their family, which is beautiful. It's not shallow, it's beautiful, because if we can raise a great family and do the right things, and I don't want to undermine the power of that or anything, but I've always noticed that you guys speak of a vision that is quite greater than most people would see. How is that? How has that motivated you? How has that moved you forward?
Uh, I think it brings clarity on stuff. It makes not necessarily makes decisions easier, but it makes taking action easier. Like life isn't easy, and God knows for this year, it's been hard. But it's the right thing to do, and right and and to come back, I'm like I'm always been, we're as a as a nation we're fairly stoic at Harley. We are a stoic culture, right? And I've read a lot of stoic since I was fairly young, and like that. And then I remember, it's gonna bring it back. So like the second time when my parents came down to Zambia, my dad is super stoic, right? He doesn't really, he's doesn't cry, but he's emotional, but in a you know slightly more traditional way, right? I remember sitting there on a couch before they were gonna go off to the airport, and I'm like, I was crying so hard I couldn't breathe, right? And I'm like, and then just gonna take a moment. And then we sat there, and then my dad was crying so hard he could hardly breathe. And I'm like, I remember saying like, dude, I just want to be like 5 again, so you can just come in and save me, because I can't do it anymore. And like, and then he stopped in the middle of his crying and like looked at me like, well, I'm glad it's happening to you, because you're gonna get through it, and then you're gonna be able to go out and help other people because of this. And I'm like, okay, I'm happy it's happening to me then, I guess, because it's gonna make me stronger. It's gonna make it easier for me, dude. I'm from one of the richest countries in the world. I grew up in a upper middle class. Everything I've done is super easy to me. I, I read stuff, it sticks. I was really good at sports. I had a lot of friends. I had a super simple life, right? But it's made me make it easier for me to, I guess, hopefully it makes it easier for me to understand when people are struggling, and it makes it even easier for me to like look at, well, how can that guide me in the process for me to help people, regardless if that's in fitness or in like life or in business. They kind of all like come together. So even though Carl has a slightly different reason for why we still believe like that. We said that from the start. We want to fundamentally improve, and we can't just like health and fitness. Like, what does it mean? Well, we want to do it at a deeper level, and that means that we need to keep our members around for probably more than 5 years if we're going to talk about fundamental change. So everything we do is trying to be like long term, and we need staff to commit to that. We need to talk to clients about that, and that's the reason why we met up the first time, because we believe the level method is going to make it easier for us to say to someone like, this is the path for your next 40 years. We only have a month to month contract, but from our perspective, we're thinking about this like we are going to be your fitness Cicero that takes you down this path for the next 40, 50 years. And that makes decisions easier, because we know what the long-term end or like path is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love your passion. I love your vision. I'm going to call, your purpose, not passion, purpose.
It's the same thing, but yeah.
Yeah. And so I mentioned earlier, I've been to your gym and I met some of your members. I'm one that obviously sticks out incredibly, like major in my mind is John.
Oh,
The first time I ever was introduced to John was not face to face, not really introduced, but the first time I saw him is you made a post on social media about this is John, and he had achieved a level. This is very early level method, very early, and John is not John. John will make you cry if you talk to John.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
This is, yeah. It's
He
an interesting thing there. Sorry, God.
Yeah, so he's been an absolute inspiration. I mean, like I've told his story, I don't know how many times because people will say, "Oh, well, I have this member," and I'm like, "Hey, look, let me tell you a story."
Yeah,
It-
yeah,
they can't
and
get a
that's it.
level. I'm
No,
like, "Oh, really? Well, let's talk about a gentleman I got to meet when I was in Sweden. Let's talk about who can't do what." So, for our listeners, why don't you give them a short version of John's story?
yeah. So like, just like anyone else would say, like, well, CrossFit or our type of fitness, it's for everyone. We're doing it to improve life, and that's a shallow thing to say, right? And then a few years ago, someone emailed us and said, "Hey, my name is John. I'm 40, say 45 by then or something. I've had Parkinson's more than half of my life. Uh, I'm essentially in a electric wheelchair, and I don't have that much longer to live because I've had cancer twice, and I just lost my wife to cancer. And I'm a super social guy, but the Parkinson is making me I have to stay at home essentially. And I've been doing, cleans and stuff at, a global gym. But, if I don't have too many more, I think the doctor said like 6 months back then. Like, if it's 6 more months, I'm going to try the CrossFit thing because, I need community. We're like, sure, we say it's CrossFit for everyone, but now let's see if we can put, the money where the mouth is, right?
Yeah.
So we invited him, and Carl, like, dude, I don't know. I've never worked at anyone with Parkinson's, but like, we're gonna treat you like you're anyone else. We're gonna yell at you, and we're gonna like see if we're gonna treat you like anyone else. And it was rough in the beginning. Like, it's to the point where he looks like he's super super drunk when he's walking. He essentially has no control of left side, and you can barely hear him talk because of his friend Parkinson, Mr. Parkinson's, right? But this is like 3.5 years later, and he was given like 6 months to live, and like he's still alive. And his like neurologist said he goes on yearly checkups. So it's like, John, are you faking your Parkinson's? Because he's reversed some of the symptoms that you shouldn't be able to like improve on. Now he's getting worse and worse, and he's probably like it's this is gonna unfortunately end his life fairly soon. But like he fought this, and he's leveling up, dude. He did 5 reps, and obviously quarantine is not good for. Oh, sorry, the Corona thing is not good for him because he's at risk. So,
Yeah,
but he's doing
of course.
PT with one of our coaches, and at not so he's lost a lot of weight as well now, but he's not more than like 120 pounds now. No,
Right.
it's not less than that. Now it's like 110-ish. He did 5 on. Let me see. He did 5. Yeah, he did 5 on like 90 kilos, which is like closer to 200 pounds.
On deadlift?
Yes, 5.
He's when you see him, he's in an assisted wheelchair, fully assisted. I mean, this is not someone you'd say, oh, he's going to get up and do 5 deadlifts. This, in my understanding, is that he has an overall level, and every single level has been earned.
Yes. Yes.
No excuses.
No. And we make him do all the other stuff. So he has this like claw. So that would technically be because he can't hang with the left arm.
Right.
So it's like a claw that he like hooks to the bar, but he's doing pull-ups now.
Wow.
And same with like deadlifts and cleans and like API is hard because some like he can't jump, so he has to sit out in that one.
Yep.
But he has to do more wall balls and hang power cleans instead.
Yeah. And you probably don't need to be told this, but impact, your purpose is to impact a large, like the way you mention it, it's impacting a large sum of people, a large number of people. And by being a CrossFit staff seminar or a seminar staff, you are doing that because it is like a pyramid. Every person you touch goes out and has the possibility of improving hundreds of lives. And that grows and it grows and it grows because you know that one CrossFit gym will generate another one or two CrossFit gyms. It's just the way it works. So no doubt in my mind, you've reached that. I love that you don't think you have, because that just means you're going to keep driving. But in sheer numbers, you almost can't achieve the impact you've achieved in one person's life who was given 6 months. And then now is years later, undoubtedly, because of what John has received and given as a member of CrossFit Medis. He's given probably people purpose, passion, energy. Like I have zero excuses. I have
No,
zero.
and I think that's a great point. Like we use him both ways. Like we obviously treat him like anyone else. We yell at him and say, "Hey, go lower, you can do it." But it's such a cool thing when like, hey, I know you want to like fake tie your shoes right now, but look there in the corner. John is doing air squats and he's suffering just as bad as you are, right? And people are like, holy shit, I have to do the same thing, right? And then you walk out to him, John, hey, get up on the assault bike. I don't care if you got Parkinson's, you still need to work your ass off as well.
Yep.
So it's that's and the same thing. You have like the CEO and you have like the cleaner. We have the same theory here, physical ability, and like it's such an inspiring thing that you can like bring that, and it comes like to fitness, right? We freaking working out, but it's like, and twice he has CrossFit essentially saved his life because he was like, he goes up at night and he was falling in the kitchen, but he had the strength to block his head because he was going to bump the head on the ledge. Happened twice. I think he broke the arm once, but he was strong enough to like get the arm up and save his face. And then I'm like, God, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. It's an absolute incredible story. And I didn't actually plan on bringing it up, but when you think about impact, there's varying levels of impact. There's impact on individuals, there's impact on masses. So the next thing I know, Carl and Oscar are calling me, telling me, "Hey Scott, we need to set up another Level Method account because we're adding a new gym." Well, we won't talk about the fact this is pre-COVID, like literally pre-COVID, like month before COVID. But why another gym?
It's it's yeah, it was actually a good question. We're doing fairly well. We can essentially step back and just enjoy fitness. I mean,
Yeah,
like we're then we're not doing enough. Like one, we would drive our staff crazy and our GM Emma because we would like be there destroying stuff that she's trying to fix. So for the sanity of her, we have to step away. But also, like we're not done. Like we have to keep making progress on improving people's health and fitness.
right.
And that commitment, like it doesn't stop with one gym in our case. And we also want to give the opportunity for more people to give this gift to people. So we want more staff people, and like there's enough people for us to help. So we unfortunately we're gonna call you soon again, I guess. Like we need to open a third location and a fourth and a fifth because we're not done. And it's like if I wanted to make money again, I'm like I can go back and I have all the suits just like Batman. I have my suit in the closets. I can do that stuff, and I can get money there. But it's like it doesn't make me jump out of bed in the morning. Like it doesn't give me the I can't look my daughter in the eye. It's I just can't.
So um, you haven't closed the doors to Sikla, brand new. You haven't closed the doors, so you're doing something right because you launched that. COVID and pandemic and lockdowns and, you know, everything, and
Yep.
possibility of future lockdowns and restrictions. Um, how's it going?
It's honestly going. It's going really well.
Yeah.
We're thriving. It's dude. I have a bed at the gym, so and like not gonna lie. So when we opened it, we planned on bringing all the staff in, but we didn't want to attract people from other jobs to the risk of like having them join the gym and then be like, dude, we can't provide you with clients. So essentially, the entire spring, Carl and I was doing everything, and to the point where I think I spent like 111 days in a row working at some capacity, and I enjoyed it. I still was getting decent amount of sleep, and I made sure that I spent time with my family because that's a priority. But then essentially it was the gym because we thought we got to going out of business essentially every day. So I had a bed at the gym that I used to not sleep overnight, but like multiple times when we're doing between personal training clients, I just took a nap.
Yeah.
Uh, but we're thriving. We are really profitable. We got uh, 3 full-time staff members there, and then 4 part-time. So in total, between the two gyms, we probably have like 22 staff right now, and we keep growing every day.
Yeah. That's amazing. I I know that you and Carl have a lot to do with the success of Sikla during this time, but what's the big thing? I know the answer. What's the big thing that kept you from closing? Because you were thinking about it.
Yeah, it's like if we give them these people who are going to help them, like we have to. It's and I hope even though it doesn't really matter, I don't think there's ego about it. Like these people could technically help them somewhere else, but I'm like we've made a commitment to make the world a better place, and like we just can't stop. And I think we're actually doing a decent job. I think we are, and we have this proof for it because when we talk about measurable results, we use the level method. We have in body. We sit down and talk to our members to figure out what they're doing, and they tell us that they're still they're still they fix their marriage because of they dude, we're doing thrusters and burpees. We're not that important, but like we have at least a part in their keeping their family. We've had members this year tell us, "Hey, because of the strength you've given me, I've left a really abusive marriage." Like we have people off medication, so like it would be way too egotistical to give up. Like
Yeah.
it's
Your
it's
purpose is so much bigger than the struggle, than the daily.
yeah, and then so because of that, it's like and I have no ego in it. Like if once again if someone down the street can do a better job, people should go there. And if I can find another way to make a greater impact on the world, I'm gonna do it. So there's no like I take no pride in it. And I'm proud of what we're doing, but I don't have any like I'm not gonna go down with it. And the same thing with seminar staff or being a mentor. But I'm gonna keep making sure that I'm gonna be hard to kick out because and that's probably where it comes down. Like I need to be able to watch my daughter in the eye and say, well, I made I think I made the world better today. Like
That's a big
it's I
thing.
like I haven't talked about this for probably 2 weeks or so, but it comes up from time to time, and it still gets it's hard or it's easy to talk about, but it brings back so many emotions, and then it makes it easier to like, well, it's because it's not about me, it's about them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a long answer to like it's easy because I I just have to do it because I genuinely care about making the world a better place.
Wow. All of that from how did you get started in CrossFit? And I going back, the time you spent, I mean, it was birthed. You got to kind of look at this like in a big cycle, kind of like like how it unfolds. This was all birthed out of your undying love and commitment to a little girl. You you go to Zambia and you have all this time and you study. You probably knew CrossFit methodology verbatim. I mean, you could probably verse it. I mean, someone say, "Hey, what?" And you'd be a little bit right from the journal.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, so it was birthed. All these things birthed from an experience of going way out of your way and doing whatever it took to essentially improve a little girl's life. That's pretty amazing. So and I met your daughter. She's full of joy. She's very, very awesome. And you guys, I know because I've seen her, and every time I've been with you and she's around, it's like, oh, we got to go. We're going here to do this. It's all about experiences. She's experiencing the world. It's incredible. So it's very, very inspiring. So I got a chance. Well, this is replicating itself because I put out a little thing on Facebook the other day. Hey, I need some testimonies from coaches. And like right away, Erin, one of your coaches, hey, I got a story to tell. She jumped on the next day and recorded a podcast episode with me. Give. I mean, and that's evident. When I visited CrossFit Medis, you could be, you know, 10, 20 meters away from the door. Someone walks in and they're greeted with you. You're very like, hey, and you knew who they were and you're high, you are impacting the world. What gives you the energy? Like, that's a lot of energy every day. Give.
It's obviously it's a very it feels good to receive. It feels good to give because you see you're making a difference. Someone thank you. It makes short term. It's a great feeling when someone thanks you, right? And that's the reason why I'm being sought as like as a relentless coach, like because I'm craving you to say thank you. I'm not gonna give up until you say thank you, even if I have to like be on your ass for quite some time because I need that because it just comes back to the thing like I just need to make the world a better place, and it's like it might sound like something people just say or like do, but it's I have an amazing life. It's not bad, but it just makes my life so much easier when I just have to be like, well, I only have one chance to mess this up, and then I won't be able to help you. So like you can be great, but if you just one thing, you meet the favorite client that generally you can talk shit with, and you're not finely tuned to that day to how their demeanor, where if their shoulders are slouching or their head is down, if you're not picking that up, you might be saying the wrong stuff where they say, screw it, I'm leaving, and I've missed the opportunity to fix them, help make the world a better place. So it's just obvious that it's the right thing to do.
That's awesome. All right. So I'm going to step out of the emotional stories because these have been incredible. Like I have a feeling we could go on with this for hours. And, there's a reason that the Level Method team took notice of Oskar and Carl early on. I remember you, Oskar, as the guy running across the room in that CrossFit gym, CrossFit Living in Chicago, like Level Method. It was like you were just stoked. You were just like happy, and it made everyone else happy. So why Level Method? Why Level Method for CrossFit Medis?
Like it comes back to that, in order for us to prove that we are fundamentally, because we look at when we talk about health and quality of life. For health, for our case, it's like it's biomarkers, the in body or fitness, like you Fran time or 5K or number of push-ups, right? That's how we look at health. And then quality of life is how you take your fitness and apply that to life. Because we don't necessarily care about your your capacity in the gym. It's how you, whatever you do with that stuff outside, because that's really what matters to us. And we've always going that way. Like, we don't want to be, well, off the internet, I heard that the paleo diet is better than this one. Why? Because, whatever reason. So we want to be able to say, like, this is the right thing to do because XYZ. I can prove that what I'm doing is good. I'm not saying that's best because I don't necessarily care about that. I just want to be able to say what I'm doing gives results. And we say we need measurable results. We used to have measurable results before enable success, but Nathan and I talked about, the power of moments a few years ago. I like the concept so much, but I'm like, it's honestly more important for us to someone to feel successful than actually getting like, oh, I now I'm faster or jump higher or something. So the feeling is more important than the actual result. But we can't just we can't just be cheerleaders and making people feel awesome, because at some point they're going to say, I'm not losing weight, my back is still hurting, I still can't do a pull-up. So we need results, and that's where level method came to us. That we can say, we can point, you're here, you want to go there, this is the path. Just listen to me, follow what I'm telling you, and then I will get you there. And that's the sole purpose that we like it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was another thing that was kind of revolutionary for me in helping other gyms as I onboarded them, help them do a good job, was visiting and watching your coaches put it into action, where it was such an integral part in, like, it's always always referring to the map. I mean, it's right. This is the way. These are the steps. You're doing this workout. This is what you need to pay attention to. It was incredible to watch. It was incredible to see. And you and Carl are leading with such great strength. I think the strong purpose is communicable. People catch it, and it's incredible. And I just want to publicly lift the two of you up for the impact you are making in the world, not just in Sweden, not just in Stockholm, but in the world. And a few last questions. One is lighter than the other. Number one, the lighter one. Will you keep building new gyms? Will you keep adding new gyms?
Yes.
The next one, I ask everybody that comes on this podcast. Would you pass the bus test if you and Carl were taken from this world? Would your business go on without you?
Yes, for a significant time it would. We have written down our we've McDonald's defined our business fairly well. Now, I think that as a business mentor, I'm gonna, riff about this for a few seconds.
Yes.
It's gonna be hard to like, our staff is phenomenal. Like, in terms of, what they're doing. You talk about Aaron's super passionate. All of our staff are. But I think it's hard when we talk to gym owners. It's like, hey, I want to bring up the business is just going to run on autopilot by itself and be as profitable. Like, I make sure that the kettlebells are in place every single time, like specific, perfect. I make sure I take out the trash, even if it's full, but it doesn't say that we should take it out today. I'm doing the minor things. I spend a few extra minutes, and that's not because our staff is not phenomenal. They're doing everything expected of them. But this is deeper, and they have this very way deeper than just, hey, trade time for money. They're phenomenal. They're empathetic and caring and believe in what we're doing. They can recite the majority of our values and mission vision to us. But this is at the core of my being, right? This is the fabric of my DNA, and that's where I think it's going to be hard if Carl and I stepped away and did not communicate with our staff. It would be hard. We would still do a good job, probably better job. Our staff would be way better job than the majority of other gyms in town. But our members would over time probably see a slight difference, because Carl and I can be there. We can sit there with our members and cry and say, like, I know it doesn't really matter to you if the lid on the toilet is folded down, but it matters to me, because if I give a member a reason to quit, I have failed on my daughter, and I can't do it.
Yeah. 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 I think that's a really, really good delineation, because there's operations to stay in business, but there's always this driving, a little extra driving force in ownership, in and in owning the legacy that that business is bringing and creating. So you guys are the legacy, and you're passing that legacy on. And you started it. You're the driving force of it, and that's irreplaceable. I agree. I agree. Well, Oskar, I thank you so much for spending your evening talking with, telling your story to other gym owners. I know that they will get a lot from this. So I really appreciate your time, my man.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. All right, listeners, probably not a dry eye in the audience. Hope not. I know I have some allergies lately, so my eyes were a little wet. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Gym Mastery Podcast. Do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. Listen into epic stories from amazing people about business and life, and why we do this thing called owning gyms and spreading fitness. If you have not bit the bullet and checked out Level Method, levelmethod.com, it's the just go right on there and hit discovery, and you can have a chat with me or someone else about what Level Method can do for your business. If you are a gym member and want to find a Level Method gym, www.levelmethod.com/directory. If you are in Sweden, if you are going on a trip in your favorite rocket ship, make sure you drop in to CrossFit Medis or Sikla. It is an experience you will never forget. I promise you, it is incredible. And we'll have all the details for how to get a hold of these amazing guys. Two Brain Business, which Oskar mentors for, as well as CrossFit. We'll leave all of that in the show notes. So just kind of go back after you listen to this, pop into the show notes, and there'll be links for everything that you could desire that was discussed in here today, except for finding your own purpose. So make sure you go find your own purpose and make sure it's huge. Have a great day.